WHGE 95.3 FM coming up, the Open Eye.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego digging. We do so because the chains of oppression on people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm Patrice Gibbs, your host and third eye optometrist, ready to get that third eye open. Yes, indeed. Here we go, y'all. Every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. All right. Yes, indeed. You know, America is something else. Here, we have a criminal who is coming up on charges that actually sat in the White House. Wow, does that sound like news? Nah, but when exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, being ruled by criminals. Yeah, be sure of that. Sir. Yeah. What's that? Okay. Yeah, I know so many people getting caught up in the justice system and what have you. Where is that? Okay. Like I said, being ruled by a criminal. Why do 90% of defendants accept a plea deal? See, just like a judge is an officer of the court, and a cop is an officer of the court, and a prosecutor is an officer of the court, your attorney is an officer of the court. Just ask him, he'll tell you. In other words, your attorney is paid by the state to put your ass in jail. That's why 90% of cases are pleaded out. The first rule of war: know your enemy. First rule of war. The colonizer just don't quit, do they? I saw where, I know it was in Jamaica, there was somewhere else in the Caribbean, I want to say Bahamas, I'm not sure, where these colonizers came in and bought some property on the beach, and then declared the beach private property, and the locals who were born and lived there were not allowed on the beach. The hell kind of mess is that? Now, have you seen what's going on in Mexico right now? Okay, check this out. It's a restaurant that has been in operation for some 30-odd years in Mexico. And American refugees, known as expats or expatriates, colonizers, is that the hell they are? Okay. Good morning, Sherry, St. Lucia. That's who I was talking about, the private beach. Or Lucia, St. Lucia, yeah. And what's up, boy? All right. But in Mexico, okay, these colonizers bought a home right next to a restaurant. Now, this restaurant has been there over 30 years. And now these colonizers are attempting to get it shut down because of the noise in the mariachi bands. You know, and these be the same people that tell you to go back where you came from. And then come where you are and try to gentrify you out of, geez Louise. I mean, the nerve of these people, man. That's worried. Come in somebody else's home and they going to kick them out and, you know, don't want them to do what they've been doing all along before you got there. It's a hell of a lot of nerve. Mm-hmm. Well, coming up next week, the Orange Disasters criminal trial in New York is coming up. You know, and he's still running for president. You know, and he's actually trying to appeal to the black community. How's he trying to appeal to the black community? Oh, well, you know, he says, oh, they'll love me because I got a mugshot. So in his mind, black people relate to people that have a mugshot because we're criminal minded. That's his thing. Or them crappy gold sneakers, because black people love sneakers. We're that materialistic. We just love sneakers. What's up, Steve? That's right. Jeez. You know. And you know, Steve pointed something out that takes me back to what I was talking about before, about the colonizer coming in and changing things in your own community because it makes them uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see you, Sherry. I'm gonna get to that what you said in a minute. Sherry said, I see what the Orange Disaster did. But yeah, there was a popular restaurant downtown, Kennedy's Fried Chicken. And as the gentrification went on downtown, and Perzicki is trying to make downtown Wilmington a place where what we call them yuppies. I used to call them yuppies and millennials and, you know, those young colonizers that come in that are uncomfortable around black people or people with challenged incomes and what have you. Kennedy Fried Chicken was the spot to go to. The food was pretty decent and the prices were good. You could afford it. Yeah. They shut it down and they put this restaurant up where the hamburgers cost $15 goddamn. Now back to the Orange Disaster. He went to Chick-fil-A in Atlanta and some black folks, foolishly, were excited to see him. But some of the looks on them black employees' faces was like, you know, if I didn't work here, I sure as hell wouldn't be here. Yeah. Some people are excited to take pictures with this idiot. Don't understand that. Because he bought some chicken and gave out 30 free milkshakes. Oh, that really cost him. Here's what I want folks to understand. Everybody that's free, everybody does not want to be free. When Harriet Tubman went back multiple times on multiple trips to free black people from slavery, a lot of folks didn't want to go with her. They would have stayed with the devil that they know, and they did. So what we have to understand, there will always be black people who are like, you know, they're going to cheer on white supremacy. Yeah. And I have some more to say about that in a minute. Let me get my disclaimer out the way right quick, y'all. Where that? Okay, there.
The views and opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
Oh yeah, there we are. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. You know, corporations, as we watch prices inflate, and it's becoming to the point where it's almost unaffordable just to live. Apartments averaging 1-2 bedroom apartment is averaging $1,200 to $1,500 in most places. And the efficiency in New York, that's basically a closet, costs you $1,500 a month. Yeah, as we watch Heinz Kraft clock $8.9 billion in profit, Exile $9 billion in profit, JP Morgan $49 billion in profit, Amazon $9 billion, Apple $97 billion, Verizon $78 billion, and the list goes on. Walmart $155 billion. Starbucks made $24.56 billion in profits in 2023, which means it could give each of its 400,000 employees an $11,000 raise and would still have $20 billion in profit. But instead, workers rely on tips. It's corporate profits that's driving inflation. That's why Brother Jakeem said we need to stop calling the wealthy the elite. They're not better than us. No, we need to call them is the predator class. That's what we need to call them. That's it. Okay, moving right along. It's something else that still going. We still going. What's this? Yeah. Brother Warren said 2 hours ago on Media's Touch, Trump gets caught staging a scam in Atlanta. That's just what the hell it was. It was nothing but a scam. Yeah, and he think that this is going to bring black people over to his side. Well, you might get some of them, I'm sure. That's for sure. You might get some of them. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. You're enjoying the Open Eye. You know, 150 years ago this week, Robert E. Lee surrendered to the Union. That's what we need to celebrate. Celebrate that. You know, and instead, of course, you know, in the South, got bases and ships and government buildings named after Confederate generals and politicians and what have you. These people committed treason. Are you crazy? and outlawed the Confederate flag. Only in America is the flag of defeated traitors and insurrectionists allowed to be freely flown. Those descendants of the old Confederacy who insist on flying the flag loudly declare it's not about hate, it's about heritage. That's crap. It has everything to do with hate. These Confederate flag flyers are dishonest cowards who don't have the courage of their convictions. If it is about your heritage, then shame on you. The heritage that the Confederate flag symbolizes is a culture of hate, slavery, terrorism, murder, rape, thievery, oppression, insurrection, and treason. The Confederate flag should actually, just like the Nazi flag in Germany, it should only be seen in the museum. Anyone caught flying the flag in public should be charged with sedition and put in jail. The punishment should be more severe for any fool caught flying the flag within 10 miles of the nation's capital. Like I said, what America should celebrate is the defeat of the Confederacy. And when they celebrate it, they should get the, the 54th? The 54th Regiment? Had them march up and down the streets, it's at Jackson, in Richmond, and Atlanta, and all over the South. And people should get up and be making speeches about a real badass American. Okay? A real badass American, Robert Smalls. That's who should be celebrated when you talk about the Civil War. Yeah, so Robert Smalls was born a slave in South Carolina in 1839. When he died 75 years later, he owned the home where he was born. It's a badass. At one point, he even allowed his former master's wife to move back in as his tenant. That's right. That's how he had to come pay him rent. All right. Here's a real short summary of the life of a larger-than-life American, Robert Smalls. When he was in his early 20s, the Civil War had just broke out, and he was assigned to work on a Confederate ship, the USS Planter. The Planter was stationed in Charleston, just a few miles south from a blockade of Union ships. To slaves like Robert Smalls, the Union blockade wasn't a threat, but rather a tantalizing promise of freedom. If Smalls could get to the Union ships, he knew he stood a chance at gaining his freedom. One day in May 1862, Smalls decided he would steal the Planter from the Confederate Navy and head north to freedom or die trying. Late one night, he shared his plan with some of the other slaves on board while the white crew slept ashore. Within a few hours, they decided to make their escape. Smalls put on the white captain's straw hat, ordered the crew to hoist the Confederate and South Carolina flags, and then left port. A black captain with all black crew steering a Confederate naval ship towards freedom. Smalls played the part of a white naval captain brilliantly and tricked a series of Confederate checkpoints on their way north. By sunrise, Smalls and his crew had nearly reached the Union blockade. Freedom was mere yards away when it struck him. I just sailed a Confederate ship directly into enemy territory. These Union ships are going to blow us to bits. His wife, who had snuck on board, came up with a brilliant plan. She frantically scrubbed some sheets with soap until they took on a whitish color, and then hoisted the improvised surrender flags within seconds of the Union opening fire and possibly killing everybody on board. From an eyewitness account that day. And just as number 3 port gun was being elevated, someone cried out, "I see something that looks like a white flag." When the crew of the plane discovered that they would not be fired on, there was a rush of contrabands out on her deck. Some dancing, some singing, whistling, jumping. One of the men stepped forward, taking off his hat, shouted, "Good morning, sir. I bought you some of the old United States guns, sir." From slave to naval officer to U.S. congressman, Robert Smalls was a badass. Not long after the surrender of the ship, the Union Navy paid Smalls and his crew half his appraised value, around $40,000 in today's money. The naval officers who got to know Smalls described him as superior to any who have come into our lines, intelligent as many of them have been. The Navy appointed him captain of the planter where he fought the Confederacy for years. Smalls even helped convince Lincoln's Secretary of War, Edwin Stanton, to let black Americans fight to join the Union. Following the war, Smalls bought his old slave master's home in South Carolina. He launched a series of business ventures, including a small railroad company and a local newspaper. He then turned his energy toward politics, eventually becoming a state senator and U.S. congressman. This quote from an 1895 speech Smalls gave summarizes the central theme in his life's work. "My race needs no special defense, for the past history of them in this country proves them to be equal of any people anywhere. All they need is an equal chance in the battle of life." It's embarrassing that people don't know who Robert Smalls is today. He is pure as an American hero as they come. A badass. You want to celebrate about the Civil War? Celebrate its defeat and the badass Robert Smalls. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs, your host and third eye optometrist right here on The Open Eye. Yeah, I remember in the 90s, I was working in Ocano Speedy Printing, and the atmosphere was charged as we awaited the news. And somebody stopped by the shop, opened the door and hollered in, "The juice is loose!" Yes, indeed. After the trial, the murder trial, the trial of the century, O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson died at the age of 76. He should be remembered. We should remember his football career. What a great player he was. Even has some memories of his acting career. He wasn't bad, actually. You know, the thing was, as things got better for him and he became more accepted by the mainstream, meaning the mayonnaise mafia, those of the envelope hue, he turned his back on Black America. You know, it's something when, as he became financially successful, he divorced his black wife. I think he had married her in college and married a white woman, Nicole. Yeah. She turned up dead. After white folks were done with him, OJ had to recognize and embrace his blackness. Opponents of black history try to whitewash our existence and minimize our contributions. But accurately reporting America's past is impossible without us. Haters must pick and choose with black people to acknowledge and highlight, preferably those who have achieved the so-called American dream, without making white people uncomfortable. You talk about white privilege. You know what white privilege is? When you can whitewash the history of a whole people just because it makes you uncomfortable. As the first person killed in the American Revolution, Crispus Attucks is a fine black man to honor. So is Booker T. Washington, whose agrarian brand of racial progress always seemed less threatening than the scholarly version that W.E.B. Du Bois espoused. Of course, the world of sports is full of black heroes that historians can't ignore, though it helps when the athlete ignores societal conditions. Best is the athletes focus on the vacuum, the field, or the court, not the racism afflicting their non-athletic kinfolk. Barred from mainstream pro sports leagues well into the 20th century, we started dotting the landscape before the civil rights era peaked. Jackie Robinson broke the color line in Major League Baseball in 1947. Orenthio James Simpson was born 3 months later. Died Wednesday at the age of 76, leaving an indelible mark on our culture. Though he made his name as a legendary football player, Simpson goes down as sports' greatest example of two Americas. OJ ignored racial reality for his first 47 years, running from USC to the NFL, leaping from TV commercials to Hollywood, avoiding our struggle for justice. When he finally came to grips with the color line, it wasn't first revealed as a black-white issue. His demarcation was on the calendar. A date in June 1994, the day before and after Nicole Brown Simpson's slaying. OJ was among America's first all-time favorite black athletes until his ex-wife and her friend Ronald Goldman were stabbed to death in Los Angeles. He certainly was more affable than the likes of Jim Brown, the great NFL halfback who retired in 1966. 3 years before Simpson's rookie season, Brown came across as angry and surly, anathema to white embrace, and further distanced himself by becoming a social activist. That's right. Athletes and celebrities aren't mandated to use their platform to fight for causes, least of all against racism. Decry domestic violence and sexual assault? Gotcha. Rail against drug use and drunk driving? Sure. Condemn bullying and animal abuse? Okay. But very few stars have what it takes, the will and the skill, to address unjust laws, police brutality, discriminatory policies, and the like. Simpson wasn't alone in that regard. Don't get it mixed. Excuse me. He just went out of his way not to see color, endearing himself to the gaslighters who insisted race wasn't an issue. From their vantage point, Simpson's acting career and second marriage were proof of America's greatness and its absence of animus towards black people. Simpson was black, but not in a bad way. He was one of them, like Clarence Thomas and Herschel Walker and Tim Scott, enjoying the fruit of his labor in the land of opportunity, not complaining about barriers and obstacles meant to hinder non-whites. Athletes like Brown, Muhammad Ali, Arthur Ashe, and others were malcontents, rabble-rousers, race baiters, troublemakers. Simpson was not like the others. And Mr. Simpson, is there racism in America? If there is, I ain't seen it. But when he was accused of killing his blonde, blue-eyed ex-wife, all bets were off. White folks were through, leaving him no option. He had to recognize and embrace his blackness. Yeah. News account says Simpson's murder trial exposed divisions on race and policing. That's laughable in our community because the divisions have always been in plain sight. The difference in this case was Simpson's celebrity. A black O.J. Simpson likely would have been convicted under that mountain of evidence with or without police malfeasance. And Simpson didn't think he was black before the murders. He was certainly sure before the trial began. You believe that? The system has forced me to look at things racially. He's heard declaring on the Oscar-winning documentary O.J. Made in America. I didn't know that documentary won an Oscar. I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah, and Simpson's team rearranging his house to increase his melanin quotient, the opposite of black homeowners who remove telltale signs to receive a fair appraisal. He didn't fool us, but we really didn't care. See, after centuries of trumped-up charges and wrongful convictions, when lynchings didn't occur first, after suffering at the hands of dirty cops, sleazy prosecutors, and racist jurors, we wanted to win by any means. No, we didn't really rock with O.J. like that, but the system had hemmed up so many innocent brothers since 1619, his acquittal became our victory, guilty or not. That's right. So when he was found not guilty, you had the mayonnaise mafia losing their mind. I seen the reporter stop this white woman jogging down the street and told her that O.J. was found not guilty, and she bust out in tears. She just couldn't believe it. How could that happen? She didn't know O.J. Simpson, Nicole Brown Simpson, or what's that boy's name? Ronald Goldman. She didn't know none of them. The juice is loose. We didn't give it. We didn't give a damn if he was guilty or not. The juice is loose. For once our side got a taste of the other side, well, guilty parties routinely escape punishment after snuffing out black lives. Simpson went from being a model Negro to an unrepentant murderer. Along the way, he was jarred from the sunken place and beamed to the real world, exposed to the dual Americas that Martin Luther King Jr. described. Yeah. Simpson carried himself like there was only one until he was charged with murder. Then he acknowledged his mistake and set both sides ablaze, etching his name in hearts and minds. His name stands out in the annals of time. Haters might be mad, but black history can't be erased. It was an L they had to live with. And let me tell you something, that where'd that come from? I'd like to thank Deron Snyder for that. Yeah, Deron Snyder. Who you write for? Write for the Griot. Good job, Deron. You broke that down sweet. And let me tell you something. Black people are not actually celebrating the acquittal of O.J. Simpson. No. That's not what we were actually celebrating. No. We were not. Okay. We were celebrating the skill, intelligence, cunning of Johnny Cochran. That's right. Big ups, Johnny Cochran. Wish he had lived to file your case for reparations. You was the man. Got OJ off. That's what we were celebrating. The juice is loose. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. Stephen Leach said, if the gloves don't fit, you must have quit. That's right. The glove didn't fit. They had to quit. The coming Johnny Cochran. Yeah, I want to touch on this a little bit, get a little, lighten up just a little bit here, just for a minute. In March of 1970, James Brown sacked his backing band after they complained about his system of finding anyone who played a bum note. In their place, he pulled in a young Cincinnati act called the Pace Setters, which was led by Phelps Catfish Collins and his younger brother, Bootsy Collins. They were 27 and 19 at the time and renamed them the JBs. And their first recording was Get Up, I Feel Like Being a Sex Machine. Their first LP, Sex Machine, is cited as one of the greatest and most important soul records of all time. The original JBs played on some of Brown's most intense funk recordings. And for those of you that don't know, yes, James Brown invented funk. Don't get it mixed. The first real funk song was Cold Sweat. And that's still funky as hell. Now, that's word. The original JBs played on some of Brown's most intense funk recordings like Get Up, I Feel Like Being a Sex Machine, Super Bad, Soul Power, Talking Loud and Saying Nothing. And two instrumental singles, the most sampled, The Grunt. And these are the JBs. In regard to his tenure working for James Brown, Bootsy Collins stated, he treated me like a son. And being out of a fatherless home, I needed that father figure. And he really played up to it. I mean, good Lord, every night after we played a show, he called us back to give us a lecture about how horrible we sounded. Nah, you're not on it, son. I didn't hear the one. You didn't give me the one. He would tell us this after every show. One night, he knew we were sounding really good. We wasn't sounding really good. We were off. And he calls us back and said, now that's what I'm talking about. Y'all was on it tonight. Y'all hit the one. My brother and I looked at each other like we were crazy. This fool got to be crazy. We knew in our heart and soul that we wasn't on that night. But then I started figuring out this man's game. By telling me I wasn't on it, he made me practice harder. So I just absorbed what he said and used it in a positive way. This really started Bootsy Collins' career. This really brought him to the forefront. Later on, he went on to join George Clinton's Parliament Funkadelic family. Playing bass on such seminal recordings as, P-Funk recordings such as the group's 1978 album Bootsy. He was Player of the Year for R&B album chart and spawned the #1 R&B single Bootzilla. Yeah. And who got him started? Who put him on the map? James Brown. He did so proudly. WHGE 95.3 FM. You get a chance, find you some funky music. WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye. You know, we, as black people, we can be really generous. Well, we invite you over to dinner. Come on to the barbecue and what have you. Till you F up. And you can't come to the barbecue. That's word. Don't get it mixed. OJ, may you rest in peace. But you couldn't come to the barbecue no damn more. And that was long before your murder trial. You would ask about what it was like to be black. Yeah, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Get black people out here that mess up and say all kind of crap about us. Join forces and join hands with white nationalists and white supremacists. And then when the white supremacists get tired of you or you say something to make them mad, and they kick your sorry ass to the curb, here you come back talking about, yeah, right on, right on. Yeah. Stop just short of hollering black power. Why did I bring that up? I had actually vowed to kind of leave this alone, but I feel like I need to join forces with the rest of black media and making sure that we keep the idea alive that once you walk out and turn your back on us and join forces with white supremacy, you cannot come back to the barbecue. Charlemagne the God and the rest of the Breakfast Club, Joe Budden, y'all can go to hell for having notorious bid wench, Candace Owens, notorious Negro peeing bid wench, Candace Owens, trying to give her a platform to appeal the black Americans after the nasty crap she said. Yeah. And she on there, well, you know, and some black people on there, well, you know, I know a broken clock is right twice a day, but, you know, she was making some sense on there. This below mediocre, lightweight, con woman didn't say nothing that was even close to being right. She's conning y'all. And then she gets up and says, the most brutal smears I ever faced was the media's attempt to convince black people, my own community, that I hate your community. Oh, I caught myself. I almost said something. You Negro peeing bed wench. This ain't been your community since you got that money that the NAACP helped you get. Oh, finally, black America is recognizing that they were intentionally misled. As I said, the Breakfast Club could go to hell for giving her a platform. And dumbass Charlemagne the donkey, as they call him, Charlemagne the God, ain't nobody's God, goddamn Charlemagne. Idiot, another intellectual lightweight, up talking about a DEI. A DEI is a joke. And he's a dumbass. He's a dumbass. The most brutal smears I ever faced was the media's attempt to convince black people, my own community. No, Huzzy. It wasn't the media. It was you that said, it was you. You said, based on the hierarchy of what's impacting minority Americans, if I had to make a list of 100 things, white nationalism would not make the list. White supremacy and white nationalism is not a problem that is harming black America. You said that crap, you Negro peeing bed wench. Oh, we ain't forgot when you said Juneteenth is ghetto and made up. All holidays are made up. But you said Juneteenth is so lame Democrats really need to stop trying to repackage segregation. I'll be celebrating the 4th of July and the 4th of July only. I'm American. You know, earlier I talked about outlawing the Confederate flag. Don't get so upset about the Confederate flag, because when you look at the American flag, it is drenched with the blood of our people. If the American soil could speak, it would have to cough up our blood before it could say a goddamn thing. And this is talking about my community. No, no, no. This is not your community. You Negro peeing, big winch, hustling, scamming piece of crap. Are you kidding me? See? There you go. Yeah. That is really what happens when it comes to DEI. When it comes to DEI. Candace Owens said, if she saw a woman flying the plane, and she followed this up after, what's his name? I forget the Klansman's name, the white nationalist, and said if he saw a black pilot, and she followed up, if she saw a woman pilot, it would make her nervous. Yeah. You know what? She's a shill. She actually really doesn't believe a damn word that comes out her own mouth. Oh, she sold her soul a long time ago for some money, and now she's living hard wig, hard life. That man she got engaged to after only knowing him a few weeks, you cannot convince me that was out of love. That was for money and security and a little bit of power. Of course, that's hilarious because she constantly talks about other women being whores, and she's just a glorified prostitute who married her John, who's probably gay. Because that's a whole nother issue. She's his skirt. It's been said before, she showed all the way down to her uterus, popping out 3 babies with that man's disgusting seed. And every day, she has to get up and look at herself in the mirror and probably throws up a little bit in her mouth because of the disgusting, vile legacy she's leaving behind to her children. If her children grow up and see her record and have an understanding of who they are, they'll probably disown her and deny that she's even their mother. Yeah. She knows it's pathetic because Candace Owens knows that she's lying and she knows this crap. So when I see people say, oh, I wish you could debate her, I see you guys like arguing with her in comments over the merits of her statements. You know, it's a waste of time. Because I wouldn't give credence to BS by trying to debate her. She is the BS. That's word. Why would I waste my time debating someone that Harriet Tubman would have shot? WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Hey, Bessie, I see you. That's who she is. She's definitely trash. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. This is from historian Jeffrey Robinson. Look him up. Your brother be getting something said. Mr. Robinson said, George Orwell has always scared me. This is one of the things he said in his book, 1984. Truth is erased. The erasure is forgotten, and the lie becomes the truth. There is something trying to take root right now in our own communities, in our own education system that is both old and evil. It's the attempt to lie about the past, to eliminate the truth about the role of anti-black racism in America. And the initial success of this movement is now being challenged by an explosion of the truth. Excuse me. And those who want to erase the truth are feeling desperate. And desperate times usually means desperate measures. Whether we like it or not, we are living at a critical time in the history of America. And there's one thing of which I am absolutely certain, it is this. The truth is not the enemy, but the truth has enemies. Hate crimes are on the rise. Book bans are increasing, and unaccredited far-right curriculums like PragerU have now been approved for statewide use in Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, and Connecticut. If you don't know about PragerU, it is nothing but a white supremacist propaganda apparatus, passing itself off as some kind of educational entity. Groups like Minds for Liberty are self-described anti-woke far-right political groups fighting everything from black history to social emotional learning, also carrying the banner of suppressing the truth. According to a study by the Southern Poverty Law Center in 2017, only 8% of high school seniors could correctly identify slavery as the central cause of the Civil War. Most Americans hadn't even heard of the Tulsa Massacre until recently. And still the majority haven't heard of similar events in Wilmington, North Carolina, Elaine, Colfax, Memphis, and Pulaski. The Texas Senate recently passed a bill that removes the requirements to teach that the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, was morally wrong. If America wants a better future, America has got to deal with and learn from the past. And we can never do that if we don't learn accurate, fact-based, truthful history. Tune in to The Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. Actual fact-based history. And as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. I'm Patrice Gibbs. This has been The Open Eye. And as I always tell you, global African supremacy is coming. That's why they stopped telling you, go back to Africa. They know it's coming. Can't stop it. Because the world was a much better place when the African ruled.